Welcome to BBC School Report East Bergholt High School. On tonight's events. Over to me, James Pyle, doing an interview about what it takes to get into journalism with Ian Evans.
Thank you very much for being here with us. I understand that you're a journalist. Would you mind explaining to our audience exactly how you got into journalism?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've been a journalist sort of 25 years now. I mean, I'm actually 49 years old, 50 this year. So it's a quarter of a century, which is quite daunting. But basically, when I was a teenager, I always read newspapers, always read the news, really interested in news. I drifted a little bit, but I ended up going to journalism college in Harlow. There were 6 colleges around the country which did a qualification called the National Council of Training of Journalists. This was the days before the internet and before the technological revolution, where primarily people went into newspapers. So I did that course in Harlow. It was a year course where we learned about the law, administration, shorthand, and basically how to write. And after that, I took a 2.5 year indenture, it was called then, on a local paper in Bishop Stortford, which I then passed, and then really the rest is history. So primarily it was through newspapers and it was through local newspapers, but things have changed since then.
And what particularly do you like about journalism?
Well, every day is different. You meet lots of interesting people. You put in very interesting situations. It's just if you're interested in people, you'll be interested in journalism. There's a lot of dross as well. I mean, when I was starting off in journalism, you do have to do the council meetings, the diamond weddings, the dog released on field kind of stories. So it's not all glamour, and I know that the media, particularly fiction, portrays it as a very sexy, exciting subject, but it's not. I mean, quite a lot of it is quite humdrum. But I just like people, and I like every day being different.
And 12 years here at school, what kind of qualifications do you recommend coming out of high school to go to a career in journalism?
Well, these days, academic qualifications, I mean, the tail end of my career when I was in Fleet Street, most people who were reaching Fleet Street did have to have a degree of some sort, and it's more the discipline than anything. When I was going through Fleet Street in journalism, it really was NCTJ and local papers and learning your beat. These days, I would recommend certainly doing A-levels. Not necessarily English. I mean, you have to be reasonably good at English, but I think the qualifications, in my opinion, are, yes, academic, but more personal. You do have to be challenging, you have to be nosy, you have to be persistent, you have to put yourself in awkward situations, you have to ask awkward questions, you have to be unpopular, and quite a lot of those kind of things which aren't probably publicised are probably more important.
You previously mentioned about the glamour that is portrayed quite often in movies, and we're seeing a lot of news stories nowadays about journalists being kidnapped by extremist terrorist organisations such as ISIS. What kind of dangerous situations have you been in?
Well, I lived and worked in southern Africa for 4 years, and I guess, I don't know, I went into Zimbabwe, which at the time, well, it still is, it's very hostile to journalists, so I went undercover a few times in Zimbabwe. And at the time when I was there was some stories about diamond fields in the east of the country, which the military were taking over and expelling prospectors and basically killing them. So I went into the diamond fields and I spoke to a lot of these unofficial prospectors, and I saw quite a few beatings. I skirted with the military when I was there. I got asked a few times who I was, and I just had to pretend I was a tourist visiting, blah, blah, blah. But I think the worst thing was when I was in actually the capital of Harare, and Zimbabwe called Harare, and I was chased through basically a hotel by Secret Service Mugabe spooks, and I ran out through a kitchen, got in the back of a car and sped, and if I think I'd been caught, I would have probably been in prison, but that was a bit ropey.
And is that your most dangerous situation you've been in?
That was quite dangerous, but I'd say actually one's near closer to home. I mean, I've done stories about criminals who've been in courts and had to go around to their houses or spoken to people outside court and done investigations into drug dealing, and actually done quite a lot of stories on paedophiles actually, which was actually a bit more sinister than you think. It's quite a paedophile group, so it's kind of, I think the worst thing was when again, it's not the movie portrayal of someone confronting you, it's the more sinister phone calls and people speaking to you on the phone and threatening letters. That's quite dangerous.
And I ran out from the kitchen,
what's the most exciting place of the story that
I think I'd been caught.
Probably
Well,
been in prison.
I was in London actually. This is probably
is that
before your
what
time, but I was in London meeting some friends in Soho.
That was quite dangerous,
And,
but I'd say actually
nail
one's
bomber
near
struck
closer to
a
home. I mean,
Duncan
I've
pub in this
done
Soho,
stories about
which is a
criminals
gay
who've been in
pub.
court and had
And
to
I
go
was
around
there
to
in
their
a minute,
houses or
and
speaking to,
because I was
spoken to people
and
outside
to actually
court,
be
and
amongst
done investigations into drug dealing, and actually done quite a lot of
journalist
stories on
in you
pedophiles
switches on,
actually, which was actually
and
a
actually
bit
that whole
sinister,
night I was
I
on
think.
Sky
It's quite
TV and
paedophile
Channel
group,
4
so
News or whatever,
it's kind of,
talking from the side because
again, it's
as soon
not
as the bomb went off, I was there.
the movie
Police
portrayal of
called
someone
around,
confronting
they
you.
were
It's the
calling
more sinister phone calls and people not speaking to you on the end of the phone and threatening letters, and that's quite dangerous.
And what's the most exciting place or story that you
I do
did?
less and less journalism. I do still write for
Well,
South
I was in London actually. This is probably a bit before your time, but I was in London meeting some friends in Soho when a nail bomber struck a Admiral Duncan pub in heart of Soho, which is a gay pub, and I was there within a minute, and because I was around the corner. And to actually be amongst a lot of people who've been hit by the nail bomb was quite horrific. But the journalist in you switches on, and actually that whole night I was on Sky TV and Channel 4 News or whatever, talking from the side, because as soon as the bomb went off I was there. The police then put a cordon around it. As long as you're in the cordon, you were allowed to stay. And so that was kind of dangerous, but also quite horrific, really.
Okay, and what kind of jobs are you working on at the moment?
I do less and less journalism. I do still write for sort of South African papers because I lived in South Africa, and now I write a lot about South African issues here. I write things for national newspapers if they phone me up. It's normally sort of crime and court related, but I've done stories about, like a few weeks ago now I did a story about a guy who was expelled from South Africa because of apartheid. He was basically a poet. This is years ago, but he was in London and he's a karate expert, bizarrely, and he saw a mugging, and the guy drove off with the woman's handbag on a bike, and he kicked the bike over. He rescued the handbag and gave it back, and basically he was a kung fu poet, you know. And it was a great story, and I took pictures of it and whatever. But it's kind of incremental. It's kind of an interesting, quirky human nature story. So,
Is there anything else you'd like to tell our audience about journalism?
journalism's tough. I mean, when I went into it, it was tough. But the reasons it was tough then is because it's very competitive. Unfortunately, now there are fewer and fewer jobs, and so it's even tougher. What I would say, if you want to be a journalist, is get a specialism, get a niche which you are very good at, and be good at it, because then you will get work. If you want to be a general news reporter, there aren't many jobs in it these days, and you know, a lot of people who I trained with or worked with no longer work as journalists for that reason. It's a hidden, not scandal, but it's just happened over the last 15, 20 years.
Thank you very much for coming in this morning, Mr. Evans. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Now we go to Morgan, Emma and Molly about growing up in Suffolk and how it relates to Ed Sheeran's new song, Castle on the Hill.
Hi and welcome to the BBC News Report.
Today we've been taking part in BBC School Report Day.
We have been gathering information about life in Suffolk and how they relate to Ed Sheeran's new song, Castle on the Hill.
We interviewed 5 people at a variety of ages and asked them their views about growing up and living in Suffolk.
All the people we interviewed agreed that Suffolk is a lovely place to live as it is in the countryside and has beautiful scenery.
They agreed that Suffolk had a range of different activities and things to do and look at.
Only 2 of the 5 people had not heard this song, but the other 3 said they liked it because they had visited Framlingham Castle in the past.
Everyone liked that this song had put Suffolk on the map as a great place to grow up.
Those sources, we have found out that trips to Framlingham Castle have increased by 20%.
We all love Ed Sheeran's new song and we're very proud that he grew up in Suffolk just like us.
But remember, driving at 90 down country lanes is not advisable.
And now a report on extracurricular activities at East Bergholt High School with Rosie, Ella, Georgia and Ellie.
Hi, we are students from East Bergholt High School.
Today we're going to report on the extracurricular activities available at our school.
We're going to be asking teachers as well as students on their opinions.
We're going to be asking them how they started the club and
Do you think extracurricular activities are beneficial to end of school results?
Yeah, sport and activity levels have a massive impact on GCSE results. Statistics show that for every 15 minutes of exercise you do per day, it can boost GCSE results by a quarter of a grade. And if you're doing an hour of exercise per day, then it can boost results by a whole grade. So a healthy body is a healthy mind as well.
How did you get into sport yourself?
I got into sport mainly through my friends when I was at primary school. I played a lot of sport when I was younger, football every single day. I played cricket, I played badminton, I played golf. So I've done quite a lot of sport myself. That's why I became a PE teacher mainly.
What sporting opportunities does East Bergholt High School provide to students?
So when I arrived, one of the key things that I wanted to do was to provide students with a massive opportunity to take part in as many sports as possible, so that when you leave here, hopefully a student will have found something that maybe they didn't do before that they really enjoy. So we do everything from football, rugby, netball, athletics, rounders, tennis, badminton, equestrian, swimming, trampolining, gymnastics. We've had cross-country competitions, table tennis competitions, and other sports that we do that don't necessarily have competitions have been dance, and we've even got an American football coaching at the moment doing some work. So loads of opportunities to get involved in sport at this school.
Do you think extracurricular sports are beneficial?
Yeah, I think they really help people to work as a team, and it's really fun as well.
They're also like keeping us fit and teaching us like new things, and I do think they'll help later on in life with like teamwork and things like that.
Okay. Does it impact the way you think of school?
I think it, as we do the club outside, like inside school, after school times, I don't know, it's kind of more fun and just a better way to exercise than working with people who you don't really know.
Yeah, you also get to make friends as well.
What opportunities have you had with the netball club?
Well, we've played quite a few games, and all our league games this season we had one.
Thank you. Do you think extracurricular activities are beneficial?
Yeah, because I can go and meet new friends and do work in teams.
Does it impact the way you think about school?
Yes, because it makes me want to come to school more.
How did you get into rugby?
Mr. Wynne asked me to come and then I come to training then.
Thank you. Do you think extracurricular activities are beneficial?
Yeah, because like you get to see more people and you get to make more friends, and it keeps you active as well.
Does it impact the way you think about school?
Yeah, it makes school a bit better because more sports as well.
And how did you get into athletics?
Because it was kind of ran in the family, and like I just wanted to try it out. Just went for it.
What extracurricular activities do you do?
I did the carol concert this year, and last year I did the spring concert.
Do you think that was beneficial in any way?
Yeah, because I wanted to come to school a bit more because it was really fun. I met new people.
Do you think extracurricular activities are beneficial?
Absolutely. Extracurriculars that we run at school at the moment, we have various different ones for different year groups. They give students opportunity to extend their learning, practice skills they may not have the opportunity to in the lessons, gives them more time as well. With 1 hour lessons, they're always restricted by time, so it gives the students an opportunity to show off their creative flair and ability.
Does it have an impact on your end of school results?
Certainly, we've seen the food GCSE results improve massively over the last few years, especially in 2015 where we had 100% A star to C pass rate. Lots more students are taking up the opportunities of doing extracurricular activities, and it is allowing students to explore their skills a bit more and be able to show that through their practical and controlled assessment as GCSE work.
How did you get into cooking?
It was kind of later on actually. Initially I was a resistant materials teacher, so I started out teaching resistant materials and graphics through my study at university where I did a design degree. That actually kind of evolved. I kind of realised my passion for food was overtaking my passion for materials. Eventually started my own business, designing and making cakes, which still run, still alongside teaching, which is very successful and really, really enjoy it. It's just my passion. I actually enjoy cooking.
What cooking opportunities does East Bergholt High School provide for the students?
In lessons or out of school? Because in lessons we have, obviously Key Stage 3 you have one lesson a fortnight where we get to cook once every other lesson. Key Stage 4 it steps up hugely where you have 5 lessons a fortnight, where 2 of those are double would be in practicals and get much more time again to improve that. But as well as that, obviously the extracurricular activities where we do in Key Stage 3, we start off when they arrive in September through to December, designing and making Christmas cakes as part of extracurricular activity. And then upper school, we have extra time for students to catch up with coursework. Later in the year, we do a high-level sugar craft skill, which is in the summer term, which people will hear about more soon, I hope.
Do you think extracurricular activities impact your end of school results?
Yeah, I think extracurricular activities are really good because you get to have that extra opportunity to develop the skills that you have or develop your knowledge. And sometimes that's in a smaller class, so it's often that you get more attention from the teacher. So I think, yeah, really good idea.
Did you do any activities yourself?
When I was at school, oh yeah, I did. And obviously I'm a French teacher, so most of my time was spent doing French and sometimes some sport as well.
Do you think that affected you in any way?
I think it helped me to get a better grade in French because I was able to practice what I knew and learn new words, and I think sport's really good because you get to meet other people, so it made me more of a confident person.
What made you want to run the clubs you do at East Bergholt?
Well, we run clubs with the assistants, and I think that it's really a good opportunity for people to develop their speaking because you sometimes don't have lots of opportunities in class to do lots of speaking. So at lunchtime, if you come along with your lunch, you can talk to people in French or German. So I think it's really good.
What made you want to teach German?
I learned it at school, and I think it's a useful language to be able to know.
Did you do any activities yourself at school?
What sort of activities?
School, anything?
I did music activities, so I was in orchestra, I was in band, I sang, and I was in the Rounders team.
Do you feel like that affected you in any way?
It was good for me. I really enjoyed doing it, but it didn't affect me in a bad way, no.
Do you think it helped you with your end of school grades?
Yes, because it showed me that you can do nice things in school as well as being in lessons. But I did enjoy all my lessons. They were all things that I really like doing.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Extracurricular activities are beneficial.
Definitely. I think I've never known a student who has taken up an extracurricular activity and regretted it. And I think it has a huge impact in how you feel about school and in how you are committed to school. Yeah, definitely.
When you were at school, did you do any activities yourself?
I did, but looking back, I really wish that I did more. My school had a fantastic library and I never got involved in the library, and even though I liked going to the library, there was so much more that I could have done. And also I really liked playing volleyball, and I never put myself forward, never tried out for the team or anything, and I definitely look back and regret that.
What made you want to run the club that you do run?
I think when I started running chess club, I started running it actually because there was an interest from students. So we've got a student in Year 11 who actually set up chess club, so that came purely from the students. Politics club came from, we were approaching general election, and I thought it might be fun to have a mock election in school. And so that's where that's come from, and Mr. Clark there runs that as well. So it's been really good to see these clubs set up and then the students carry them on, and even though the staffing changes, they just keep going through demand, which is great to see.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And those were only a few of our extracurricular activities here.
And now we go to Darren, Hannah, Mary and Bethany on a report about phones and sockets.
Why do you think the head teacher, Mr. Turner, does not allow us to be using phones in school? It distracts you from learning. How do you think using phones could be used within areas of school safely and respectfully? Doing work? I don't know. Or like at home? Yeah. How do you think Mr. Turner could monitor students' activities on phones within school to make sure they're following rules? Have an app. No.
GPS.
Like GPS. Just like
Yeah.
how about only let us on like at certain times?
Yeah, not in like lessons.
Yeah.
What rules would you use to make using phones easier and safer for students?
I don't know, just like just like lunch times and break times, just like not enough. Like I have to put everything. With the rising demand for technology, do you think there'll be a point when we rely only on technology and have to use phones in schools? Yeah. Sure.
Do you agree with the rule of not using phones in school? For example, do you think that phones should be used in school?
I don't think they should be used in lessons because I don't think they distract students from learning and they'd be like, they wouldn't be doing what they're supposed to be doing. Why do you think phones aren't allowed but computers are used instead of lessons doing the same thing? Because the computers are monitored by they can see what you're doing. Otherwise, like on your phone, they can't see what you're doing. So it's like your phone, not theirs.
Do you think the use of mobile phones during school time would aid learning when computers are unavailable?
Yeah. No.
And if you could change these rules, would you or would you keep them the same? Okay, thanks. Why do you think the head teacher, Mr. Turner, does not allow us to be using phones in school?
I think that they can be a distraction. I think that if your phone's going off in your pocket and you're checking it, then you're not focusing on your learning. I also think that the way that students are using phones these days, they're unsupervised. We don't know what you're doing, and so using them in school when we're responsible for you, we're not able to track what you're doing, and so you could be doing anything essentially. So I think that's I think they're the main reasons.
How do you think using phones could be used within areas of school safely and respectfully?
I think the best thing that we could do is if we got all of the schools on all of the phones on the school network, like we do with the iPads that some students have, because then we can check what you're looking at online and monitor what you're doing, not in a sense of stopping you from texting your friends, but making sure that you're not going onto inappropriate websites or sending inappropriate text messages while you're at school.
With the rising demand of technology, do you think there will be a point when we rely only on technology and have to use phones in school?
I think we're already there to an extent. If you look at 90% of the lessons that you're in, the teacher's using some sort of technology. And I would say that quite a few of your lessons you're using some sort of technology, whether it's a computer or a calculator or anything like that. So I think to some extent we're already there. But it's what we need is a way of making phones something we can use in school without detracting from the learning that we're here to do, since that's our main aim as a school, is to teach you guys what you need to know.
Do you agree with the rule of not using phones in school? For example, do you think that phone should be used in school?
I think if we could find a way of coming to an arrangement with the student body and the staff where students aren't using them to distract themselves during lessons, they agree that when they're not using them for something useful in lessons, they're switched off, and that teachers were able to, like I say, keep an eye on a little bit on what you're doing and making sure you're not doing inappropriate things. I think there might be a way of doing it, yeah.
Do you think the use of mobile phones during school time would aid learning when computers are unavailable?
I think it can do, like the iPads. I think you can use them as a research tool, or you can use them to word process a little bit. But again, I think there has to be some sort of regulation. You can't just say use them whenever you want.
To sum up, if you could change up these rules, would you or would you not keep them the same?
With the current arrangements, I think I'd keep them the same. But if we could make some changes to how students are willing to use their phones within school and how teachers are going to allow students to use them in school, I think there might be a way of compromising, but I think at the moment we're going to keep it the same.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Why do you think the head teacher, Mr. Turner, does not allow us to be using phones?
It brings us away from working, and it can distract us quite a bit.
How do you think using phones could be used within areas of school safety and respectfully?
It can be used for safety in case there's an accident somewhere, you need it for emergency.
Thank you.
How do you think this could monitor students' activities on the phones within schools?
There could be like a school server where it can monitor if we sign in with our phones at school, it can monitor what we're doing.
What role would you use to make using phones easier and safer?
We might have to let things in school account.
With the rising technology, with the rising demand of technology, do you think that
I don't believe that will happen. As like in maths, it's best to use our own techniques in thinking.
do you agree with the rule of not using phones in school? For example, do you think that phones should be used?
I agree with it, as I think it will take people away from learning.
Why do you think phones aren't used in your study lessons?
Computers have more software, like Word and PowerPoint, and it's got more work-based stuff in it. Less people.
Do you think there could be an exception in the use of phones? So there's certain circumstances where they shouldn't be allowed?
In lessons, you need to take photos of work, or if you need to have a calculator.
Do you think the use of mobile phones would aid further with computers?
Yes, I think we will.
It sounds like if you change these rules, would you or would you not?
And now to Iris and Holly with the weather.
The weather, we're reporting live from East Bergholt High School, which is in Suffolk. It's currently very, very sunny. And to tell you what's going to happen today is Iris.
Today we're expecting it to be quite sunny with partial rain and clouds.
Which is actually quite similar to what happened a few days ago and up until now. However, on Friday, Saturday and Sunday,